In this video, you're going to learn how to set up your digital workbook and how to use it in your class. The instructions for your digital workbook are listed on the first slide. Your first step is to go to the second slide and create a copy of that slide for yourself. You can do that by right-clicking on that second slide. This is a template slide. You can click on copy. Then you can hold Control on your keyboard and press V. And that'll create a copy of that template slide for you over here. Your next step is to customize a slide for yourself. So you want to put your name instead of my name. So you'll put first name, last name, digital workbook. After that, we want to go ahead and create our Jamboard and our Google Docs. The purpose of this workbook is to act like a workbook that you would have in the classroom as if you were in person. It's a digital workbook. So if your teacher assigns a practice problem to do, almost like seat work, you might want to receive feedback on that. And since we're not really there to circulate around the room and see what you're doing and do those full-on observations with you as we would like to, we can use this workbook to do that. So if I assign, let's say, a practice problem, a math problem, or a science problem, name a compound, or solve for this variable, and I want to see how you do it, well, what you can do is you can go into your personal Jamboard over here, carry out the problem, and then your teacher can go into that Jamboard as well and take a look at how you solve the problem and provide you with some real-time feedback. So it's as if you're doing the work right there with your teacher, and you can get that feedback in real time. And it's a similar idea with the Google Doc. So, for example, if I ask you to write a reflection, your teacher could go in and check your reflection as you're typing it and provide you with some real live feedback at the same time. And in this table over here, you'll see that there's a spot for you to post some tasks. So if you're assigned, let's say, a Jamboard or some type of activity, your teacher might want to see what that activity looks like at the end for you, maybe an exit ticket of some sort that you're assigned. You'll simply post a link to it. You'll simply post the title, a link to it here, and your teacher can go in and take a look at how you responded and provide you with some real-time feedback. Ideally, you'll be sharing this material just with your teacher, so it's between you and your teacher and not everyone else. So let's go ahead and see how to create our Jamboards and our Google Docs and then link them to this slide. So your first step is going to be to go to your Google Drive. You can access that by clicking on your waffle icon to access Google Apps and then hitting Drive or clicking on Drive there. And once you get to your Drive, you might want to create a folder to make sure things are nice and organized. Just find some blank space here and right click, and then you'll see the option to create a new folder. And maybe you can call that Digital Workbook Files. So everything for the digital workbook that you use can be put into this folder over here. So we're going to go ahead and create our Jamboard. To do that, let's go back because I think I skipped a step there. To do that, you need to go into the new folder you created, so you can just double click that. And then you're going to find some blank space, which is everything right now. You're going to right click. And when you right click, you'll be given the options to create a bunch of things here. You won't see Jamboard right away, so you'll go to More, and then you'll see a Google Jamboard. And once you do that, you can give this a title. So you could call this a Workbook Jam. And then you'll want to share that with your teacher. So it says restricted, and that's okay, because you don't want everyone to see it. This is really just your sort of private workbook for your teacher to go into to take a look at how you're doing with the various tasks that are assigned. But you can add your teacher as an editor, so your teacher can go in and play around with what you're working on as well to provide you with some tips and tricks to improve. To add your teacher, you simply go to Add People and Groups and type your teacher's name. So you'll write Efrate, for example, click on Efrate and make sure they're added as an editor. So you want to make sure you have choices here. There's viewer, editor. Make sure your teacher's added as an editor. Once that's all done, so that's done, you can click on Share. You can copy the link, and you'll go back to your workbook, to your slide. You'll highlight the text My Jamboard. To highlight it, you simply left click, hold that left click, and scroll across my Jamboard like that. Let go, go to the highlighted text, right click on it, and then you'll be given a drop down menu. You'll find link, and you'll paste the link that you copied into this bar over here. You can do that by holding Control and pressing V. Then you'll click apply. And now I'm just going to close this to show you what happens. When I go, or when you go to click on this, we can open the Workbook Jam. And only the editors will be able to see it, providing that you follow the restricted instructions there. And so if your task is to name a compound, so let's say you had to name NaCl, you would go ahead and try to name that on this Jamboard here. And your teacher could go in and take a look at how you're doing, provide you with feedback, provide you with some tips and tricks to improve that skill. Sometimes you might want to do your work in a Google Docs instead. So you can do the same process, but for a document. So you'll go back to your digital workbook files folder, right click on the blank space, click on Google Docs, workbook doc, and you'll do the same process, share. Make sure you add your teacher as an editor. And you don't have to notify your teacher, but you can, depending on what your teacher's preference is. And share. So, oops. Let's add someone. Add my actor. There we go. All right. That's it. So, same idea next. Once it's shared with your teacher, you can copy the link. Go to your workbook. Let's close this to stay organized. Go to your workbook over here. Highlight the text, My Google Doc. Link, and then Control V, and there's your Google Doc. So now you have a Jamboard set up on your digital workbook slide and a Google Doc. Sometimes your teacher might assign a specific Jamboard or a specific task. So let's say the task is an exit ticket in the form of a Jamboard. You'll write down what the task is called. So let's say it's called naming exit ticket. Your teacher sent you a Jamboard to complete. You would write the title of that task and then put a link to your completed task there. And so this will be updated throughout. It'll vary from teacher to teacher, but generally your teacher will let you know what to put into your digital workbook table. And again, same idea to this general Jamboard and Google Doc. Your teacher can go into your links for a specific task here, give you feedback, show you how to improve for that specific skill. And then your teacher could add notes if that's needed, but generally the notes will most likely be added in the direct link that you post there, providing that you add your teacher as an editor. The notes here are mostly, don't forget to make sure I can edit, or please put your exit ticket into your table. It won't be direct feedback about the task because, again, it's between you and your teacher specifically.